Hey everybody, Mr. V here. I'm going to show you how to read a chord chart or diagram. So we are going to start with a G chord on the ukulele. So let's look at these first here real quick. So let's look at this diagram. Let's find the G. Boop, there it is. Okay, now look at that G there and notice how I've got these four vertical lines. So those four vertical lines correspond with the four strings that I have here. So if I were to hold the ukulele like this and I were to hold the G chord next to it like that, then I would just follow the diagram here. Now on these diagrams, the string on the diagram all the way to the to your right, that's the string that's closest to the floor. So if you're sitting like this, the string closest to the floor is that one, which is the one that's all the way to the right. And the one that's all the way to the left is the one that's closest to my face. That's the G string. And the one that's all the way on the right, that one is your A string. Okay, so now you've got the strings figured out. Now all of these lines, the horizontal lines, are the frets. So these guys, these metal guys right here, those are the frets. So now I can say, oh, okay, let's look at these little dots here. Those dots are where your fingers go. So I've got a dot right here, a dot right here, and a dot right there. So now I just follow those dots. Now the one thing about this chord chart that I made is it doesn't have finger numbers for your fingers. And so I'm just going to have to tell you what those are, where those go. So, but first let's show where on the ukulele the fingers are supposed to go. So we've got a dot right here on the second, this string here on the second fret, a finger right here on the first string and the second fret, and a finger right here. Now you're going to be tempted to do all kinds of different things with your fingers, but I'm going to show you how to do it, and you need to do it this way with this finger configuration. Because when we play other instruments and when we play guitar, it's important that you have your fingers this way. Okay, so I'm going to take my middle finger and my pointer finger, and those are going to be on the first, or on the second fret right there. So that dot and that dot, there they are. And then my ring finger is going to be that third dot that I'm missing. Bop, right there. So that is my G chord. All right, now there's something that's important here, some things that are important to pay attention to. You want your fingers to come straight down as possible onto the fretboard. You want them to be perpendicular to the fretboard because you want them to avoid touching the other strings. So if your fingers are going flat like this, then they're going to be touching the other strings. If you bring them straight down, it's easier for them to let the other strings ring freely. So there is my D chord, or G chord, sorry. So you've got your fingers straight down, which means that you might need to cut your fingernails. And you've got your fingers straight down, and now you've got to figure out, how do I put pressure on these strings in order to make them sound good? And part of the way to do that is by having your thumb back here like this. So your thumb shouldn't be up here like this, even though you might see me do that sometimes. You shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be back here like this. It shouldn't be like this, like pointed at the neck here. It should be like that. So I've got my thumb in the right position. I've got my fingers here in the three places, the three dots that we saw in the diagram. And then I'm going to play each string, make sure they each sound good. Now, if this is your first time playing a G chord, your chord might sound more like this. Right? That's all right. Just figure out what's going on here. So make sure your fingers are in the right spot. Make sure you're pushing them down. On a ukulele, you want your fingers to be right in the middle of the fret. That's the best placement for them because the frets are so small. You just put your fingers right in the middle. There, and there's the G chord. Now, I'm going to have you guys do this exercise, which is very helpful in learning chords, and that is the pull-off exercise. So I'm going to start with a G and make sure it sounds good. Nice. And then I take my hand all the way off, lay it down, shake it out, whatever, put my hand back in that spot, play the chord again. If it sounds weird, you know, fix it, see what's happening, make sure it sounds good. There's another G, take my hand off, do that again. Do that several times, 5, 10 times every day, and pretty soon you'll be able to play it without even thinking about it. You won't even have to look at your fingers. Watch. Look, I didn't even need to look at my fingers. So, that is the G chord.